back to another episode of Collector's Quest. I'm Tyler here with Johnny.
Whoa.
What's going on? You just it's a Friday. You took off work, or you just don't have work because that happens over there apparently. And you went to Super Nintendo World?
I did, yeah. Me and the boy, we hit Super Nintendo World, got there nice and early, got there at opening, went down to Super Mario World real quick. And yeah, we did the Toad's Cafe, we did the ride, had a good time.
The ride, of course.
Yeah, the ride, because there's only one ride here in the US right now. There'll be more. There'll be the Donkey Kong ride coming soon at Epic World, dumb name, park, Universal in Florida in 2025, but that'll be expanding. Also in Japan, I think they're expanding. But here in California, there isn't room for that. So we have one. We have a tiny little Mario World. The theming is wonderful. It's a little small, but hey, you know what it's really got? You know the big draw? Amiibos. It's got tons of Amiibos.
Tons of them.
Yeah, tons.
Exclusive Amiibos?
There are 7 Amiibos you can get from there.
Johnny, do you know what my favorite part about Amiibos is? They're these high quality, really nice looking Nintendo statues of all my favorite characters, and you can get them for like $13.
Yeah, this isn't that. This is, there's another classification of Amiibo. You know, there's like the cereal Amiibo is like one class.
Oh,
and then
no.
there's like the giant wool plushy Yoshi Amiibo. Which
this is like
its own
those
thing.
Funko Pops that you like walk through Walmart and you see a Funko Pop that's like 2 feet tall and you think to yourself, like, do they actually like count those?
Yeah, this is one of those. And then there's even another class of Amiibo, and they were also Skylanders, which is weird. And then there's these, Tyler, which are they're called power-up bands. Do you know what these are?
Like the Disney Magic Band Plus, they beep you into rides and stuff.
Not exactly. So that's not exactly how these work, but it is a band you wear on your arm, and it also happens to be an Amiibo. But it also lets you, in the park, interact with things. Like, mainly it's for children. You put the band on, you can go, like, hit blocks, you can go do these, they've got games and stuff, you can earn magic keys, and it's all through this functionality of this band, which also, because it's got an NFC reader in it, also gets to be an Amiibo.
So, Johnny.
Yeah.
I was recently-ish, last year at Walt Disney World, one might say one of the most expensive and overpriced places on Earth, where they used to give you these little bands for free with something, maybe?
With your ticket.
I understand you used to get them for free.
They
went
like
up
a
in
very
price
brief period.
to $20 to $30 at Walt Disney World.
Yes.
The happiest, most expensive place on Earth. What does it cost to get an Amiibo band that does essentially the same thing?
$42 plus tax. So that's going to bring you in at about $47 each.
Is Nintendo saying that they're more exclusive and worthwhile than Disney for their little one ride having park?
Well, so these are even less functional than the Magic Band. The Magic Band, if you don't know, like that can be your room key, that can be your wallet. That's where your Fast Pass lives. Pretty useful. Or you can use this thing you call a phone that sits in your pocket and does the exact same thing. I think they developed this technology at exactly the wrong time. It was just like, why don't we just use our phone for this? And like, because we could make this a physical object that we can charge $30 for. I guess people like to accessorize, but the Nintendo one does even less than that because it doesn't store any of your Universal information. It literally only stores the Super Nintendo World information, and it interacts with the rides. It's not like
the one ride, Johnny.
The one ride rides. It'll be rides plural at other places, and you can use if you bought one in Japan, you can use it here. You can take it to Florida. So if you go multiple times, it's not that big deal. My son, big Luigi fan, Super Player 2 over here, loves Luigi because he likes the color green. Anyways, he loves his Magic Band. He loves it. Every time we go to the park, and we live close, so it makes sense. I feel like I've gotten my money out of that Luigi band a bunch of times because we've gone 6 times since it's been open, and he's got this band, because it's like 30 minutes away from it. It's not a big deal to get there.
Something tells me that a vast majority of the people who buy those use it once and then lose it in a bin forever, though.
Yes, yeah, it'll be there as a reminder of this trip, and it'll be parents who are like, that kid, we were only in that part of the park for an hour and a half because there was nothing to do, and I spent $50 fucking on it. That's dad at home talking about these things.
All right, Johnny, I've been out of the game for a little while, and by a little while, meaning the last time I used an amiibo, I'm pretty sure was Breath of the Wild. Do amiibos do anything? Like, I know they had like some score saving or character transfer feature for Smash Brothers. Like, what do amiibos do now? It's been like 5 years since then.
They like Mario Kart.
How long has it been since Breath of the Wild? Oh my god!
They give you like suits and stuff in Mario Kart. I actually did not realize these were even amiibos until our friend Corey, OGCIB, told me about it. I was like, oh yeah, shit, they're amiibos. If you collect amiibos, you need these to have the set. There are 6 primary ones, Tyler. And then there's a special edition one. Good news. So there was a Golden Mario band that was only released in Japan, but that for the 1-year anniversary of Hollywood, they brought the Golden Band here.
Oh, yeah.
So the Golden Band's available, and that one is slightly more expensive. That one starts at $47.
Did you buy one to keep in its packaging, Johnny?
Did I buy one? Tyler, I just told you that I have one for my son. If you're talking about the gold one, did I buy one? Of course I did, because those things are going to be selling out. Do you know how much those go for on eBay, Tyler? Do you know what a good investment this was?
I sure do, because I'm looking at it now, and it's like $80 on average. Yeah, which is like, average. Hey, you're almost doubling your money.
Yeah, I mean, not really. It's like $30, and then after fees, you're probably making a crisp $20 bill. You're making a $20 bill, maybe. But yeah, I bought one, of course. I got that gold Mario one. Like I said, I assume it's the same amiibo inside. But now I can check. Actually, I can't check because I don't have a regular one. I don't have the whole set, but if you're an amiibo hoarder, you need these. Go get them. And then just feel real sad about that gold one. But just know, if you are going to buy one, now is probably the cheapest it's going to be. And there were a lot of them. But, Tyler, they may come out in Florida when Super Mario World opens there. And I don't know if Japan has actually opened up any other exclusive amiibo bands. I've not kept up on this because, as I said, I just realized these were amiibos. I didn't come to this realization, told I should say. So I don't know. I haven't looked into it that much. But yeah, I was there today. I bought the Golden Mario one. Me and the boy walked around as Mario and Luigi. It was great.
I hate this. It looks, the special edition one that's all gold and has like an M on it. It looks like, oh, I'm the special edition one. And honestly, they don't look that bad as a set either. But I hate this. This is tchotchke nonsense. It's not even related to video games. Oh, it's an amiibo. It's an amusement park thing that you have fun by hitting the question mark blocks in Universal Studios. All right, Johnny.
This is a set collector gotcha.
Oh,
that's what this is.
Yeah, this counts for the Switch set now.
Yeah, so anyways, I'll just give a quick rundown of what I know is available. There's a Mario, a Luigi, a Princess Peach, a Daisy, a Toad, and a Yoshi.
Daisy's going to be the rare one, guys. You got to really stock up on those daisies.
I think Daisy is the least represented that I've seen, and I saw way more Toads than I thought I was going to see.
Dude, people love Toad. What are you talking about?
I just didn't think I was going to see that many Toads. But now, like Toad's Cafe, like Toad is a primary character in the land. You see a lot of Toads. So, yeah, Toad is being over-repped, I think. But Daisy is hardly anywhere. So, if they're going to cut one, it's going to be that Daisy.
They could never cut Daisy. What if there are 2 little girls who go there and one wants to be Peach? Then the parent has to convince them that Daisy is just as good as Peach.
Well, dude, there's like 2 sisters are there and one's fighting to be Peach and one is being stuck as Daisy and she's pissed about it.
Oh, I love that.
That's why I say cut Daisy and bring in Rosalina.
All right, it is $341 if you want all 7 of these. I'm sure that's the marked up buy it now price.
Yes, but if you buy it that's not even too bad because if you buy it at Universal, it is $275. But you got to watch out if you're on eBay because it's not exactly the same. Because while these look exactly the same in the packaging on the front, there is some kanji on them. So there's some Japanese text that separate these from the American version. Which one do you want? The Japanese
I want the
one is
original Japanese ones, Johnny.
You would think, but which one's going to be more collectible?
Johnny, my point is that before you buy these, I hope no one listening is considering buy these, especially if they're not going to be in the park or they're not already an Amiibo collector. But before you buy these, what is it, 7? Look at what Walt Disney World did with this exact same product, essentially. And there are now hundreds. So if you're buying these, you might be locking yourself in to be like, oh, they came out with a new one? Oh, let me grab that to keep the set complete. But if you end up doing that for 10 years, then all of a sudden you're going to end up with like 100 of these little wristwatch things.
Oh, you want me to throw in another little wrinkle?
Absolutely.
You want another little wrinkle? Okay. So look at the packaging aside from that, Tyler.
All right, to paint the word picture here, it's like it looks like a pen case that would showcase a fancy pen. It's got a clear front. Yeah?
Yes, it's got a clear front. Japan has recently changed that ever so slightly. So it's a white box that holds like a plastic tray. You can see it very well. The new Japanese box has a white border around the top. So it looks like more of a case over the whole thing, which is very reminiscent of the special edition one, as if they made the top of it completely clear. So they've changed the packaging. So if you're going to get the Japanese ones, watch out for that new packaging. Make sure you get the originals.
Okay. Johnny, we have talked enough about these stupid Nintendo Watch things.
Do you want to talk about people selling the boxes online? Just selling the
boxes. Did you look up? So you threw out your box because you're like, this is a stupid little wrist thing. And now you're like, oh, I need my box back. Is that what you did?
Yeah, I'm not carrying these things around. And then I'm like, then I found this out and I'm like, God damn it. Yeah, I was like, fuck. No, I was like, whatever. I'm just going to buy the set again and it'll be brand new. And I'll just like, my son won't use it and I'll just put it over here.
Have you considered like
just not buying those
spending
things? Yeah.
$200 on literally anything else?
Yeah, I have. And I have not done this yet, to be clear. I haven't gone out and done this. I'm just telling you it's a thing you could do. I don't suggest it. There's going to be so many of these because everyone who goes to Universal and they bring a kid there, they're buying these bands. Everyone is wearing these bands. They're going to be so plentiful.
But Johnny, what if they change them? What if they sell out? What if the originals become rare?
What if
I'm super interested in the 2024 collectibles. I know that everyone's going to look back at 2024 as the most collectible time in video game tchotchkes. And there's never going to be a new shiny thing that comes out by some limited print video game company or some limited edition statue company that'll look at and be like, oh no, what if those sell out one day?
Tyler, these are 2023 collectibles.
2023 collectibles. Oh, what a year for tchotchkes. I love 2023.
And there's going to be a bunch of special edition ones, and there's going to be like, special guest night, and they're going to have like variants of these special paint applications. This is hell. This is hell. I hope people don't need the special edition one. What I hope is that it's just going to be variants of all the same dumb thing, and the band will have the variant, but the Amiibo inside will be the same, and people don't have to worry about this. Anyways. Welcome to a different form of variant hell, but people were like, oh, what's going to be the cool collectible from Super Mario World before it came out? There's so many, Tyler, there's so much merchandise there. If people want to go nuts on Super Mario merchandise, you can. It's gross. Like, we went to the Toad Cafe and they were trying to sell me a dining set. They're like, do you want to buy a bowl and a plate? And I was like, no, I don't.
I can't believe an amusement park would try to sell you merch, Johnny.
The level of merch. They sell cups that look like fire flowers that are the least. It's a square brick that you wear around your neck. How is that a cup? It's the most inconvenient cup I've ever seen. Anyways, I'm just saying the merchandise is here. Mario Land is a success. The Mario movie is a success. It only goes down from here.
We're at the peak? People are going to stop caring about Mario from here on out?
No. I'm just telling you, like, the amount of sheer merch that's going to be available and, like, how it, like, it's like, it doesn't seem this bad now, but it's going to get worse. It's going to be, you are going to be overwhelmed in ways you didn't know you could be overwhelmed.
Johnny, on this podcast, we're talking to the smart people, though, all right? We know that the people going to
Nope.
amusement parks and buying Fireflower cups, they've just got some mass-produced trinket, but we have the real mass-produced trinkets, because you know what Mario's from? He's from a video game.
Oh,
and
yeah?
we all have Donkey Kong arcade cabinets.
Yeah, we definitely didn't buy the thing that sold millions of copies and then clamor for it and then, like, the nicest version pay $1 million for. We definitely didn't do that.
Yeah, we definitely didn't do that. But I mean, I'm thinking, Johnny, since we're going to get into it, I'm thinking about quitting collecting because I think things are just getting too expensive. And I was just at a show with you, the Midwest Gaming Classic, and prices were crazy. And I just don't think there's not fun anymore. I can't pick up my games for 50 cents anymore.
Oh my God. Have you been on Reddit lately? Like, what happened, my dude?
Yeah, I decided I quit the social media break thing, and I'm just on Reddit all the time, reading about how the resellers really seem like they've ruined everything.
Oh yeah. So it's an interesting idea that you're going to quit collecting. There's no evidence to show that you could even support that statement. But first, let me ask you this. Why do you and other people think that games are expensive or too expensive?
Okay, let me give my honest answer here first, and the honest answer
instead of this
is
bullshit like conceit that we're making to get into the episode.
I mean, yes, but why do you think video games are expensive? Like, all right, I was just at Midwest Gaming Classic with you, and prices aren't at their all-time high, but we're from like a little bit down from the peak in 2021. And the thing that struck me so much when I got there was we just did an episode on how you would spend $1,000 in N64, and the answer was like, you could buy whatever you want in N64. The main thing that struck me in Midwest Gaming Classic is how cheap nice complete in box N64 games were. Like, just under $100 for like mint stuff that you want. And like the junk, the set filler stuff, like $40 to $70 for cardboard complete in box games, not like PS2 DVD case games. And I'm just looking at all this stuff, and a lot of it wasn't selling even. Like, after 3 days, there would be like a game that was priced at like $40 complete, like a decent, I don't know, like a Rogue Squadron or something. It wouldn't sell after 3 days.
I bought $20 complete in box original Game Boy games while I was there.
You did. I like couldn't even believe you bought like a $10 complete in box original Game Boy game, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. And there was like a few $4 Game Gear games that we saw, even if they're sports games. $4 for a complete in box Game Gear game. What is happening?
This isn't deals. This is like a convention. This is like the people in the know selling to the other people in the know. And I still think prices are crazy. Not like crazy good or bad in either direction. Just like, I'm not mad about complete in box video game prices, I guess. I even bought, I'll get into it a little bit, but like one of the things I bought was a Pokemon Red, which is like a $300 game now, but it was the quote unquote first print variant. And I needed an upgrade, and it was just like a really nice, like, it's like an 8 out of 10 Pokemon Red first print. And it's like, that'll be my forever copy now. And that is like maybe 3 times as expensive as it was 5 years ago. But I still look at that and I'm like, how many Pokemon cards are more expensive than a first print Pokemon Red? Like, thousands must be, right? Like, every Charizard card, like random Charizard cards that you've never like just have seen on YouTube from the past 10 years, like some of those are $300. And this is the real thing. That's where Charizard came from. Love video games. It's the best.
So, are you telling me that you believe that games aren't actually too expensive?
Okay. So, let's go back to, there is like this perception in a certain contingent of game collecting that prices are always rising, the sky is always falling, and games are too expensive. And, I'm not calling anyone out. It's literally always been like this. I started collecting in like 2005, 2006, and I remember 2008 hit, which is when like the first time I remember prices really started going up was 2008 to 2012, and everyone was crying that like the hobby was dead. We'll never recover from this. And we were talking about Nintendo games, like certain games went from like $3 to like $8. And it was like, oh my God, that's like doubling in price. And like in real terms, you look back on it and like the price graph looks like nothing compared to what happened after that. And in like real terms, like, okay, I'm paying $8 instead of $3 for like Super Mario Brothers 3. Like, is this game really not worth $8? I looked at a famous quitting collecting video to see why people think that video game collecting sucks. So there's the RGT85 I'm quitting collecting video from was it 2021? I think
it was
probably
2021, which is different than the 2022 and the 2023 version of that.
His quote: "Look at how ridiculous this is. The average price of a Sega Saturn game," and he's pointing to the graph that has, it's like a hockey stick going straight up. The average price of a Sega Saturn game is $36. Half the price of a brand new game that you would buy off the shelf. And, you know, I realize that's the average, and like this is a stupid cherry-picked example. Like, he's the one who went to Sega Saturn. Like, I realize all the good Sega Saturn games are $300. The average price of anything being $36 is totally affordable for literally anyone if you are cherry-picking the exact things you want. And Saturn's a terrible example because you don't want Blackfire, and you don't want
NHL, the NBA games.
Exactly. Like, well, you want NBA Action 98 now because that's the first Kobe cover appearance, obviously.
Yes, now you do. But there are a contingent of games on there that are, you know, I'm going to buy this one to replace my case games.
The most recent thing that happened was $90,000 Castlevania sold on eBay. And so, you know, people screaming, "Oh, it's a scam! The sky's falling! Everything!" Like this was a 100% legit sale. Like it's a real sale, I guess is what I'll say. I don't want to seem like I'm just like randomly pumping stuff here. Like, I don't even think that was that expensive compared to what other games have sold for. Considering there's like like 5 or something hang tab Castlevanias sealed.
And I still think that's a silly price.
I mean, it's a silly price, like paying that for any video game, because, like, again, at the end of the day, they're all mass-produced, and what's the difference between sealed and complete in box and all that? The general sense that, like, graded games and WATA have ruined the hobby, if you don't care about any of that stuff, it hasn't done anything. The only people competing for complete in box are the regular people, Johnny, and even then, I still say, I just came back for a convention, I still think it's all relatively affordable, but Johnny, there are some exceptions. We've got Earthbound. We've got Rule of Rose, because the literally most hyped game to the moon, these are like the 0.05% of all video games that are in this like hundreds and thousands of dollar tier. And you can't get the most Instagram likes unless you post a complete in box Earthbound that you bought for $2,000.
Yeah, that's true. The likes are very important.
For every game that's like over $1,000 that you could say like, well, look at that game. Look at Chrono Trigger. Look at Doom. These are like $1,000 games now. I could literally point out like 100 more games that are worthwhile, worth owning, not just good games, like games worth collecting that like mean something in gaming history that are less than $50. Like 100 times more.
Well, it's interesting too. Like, Rule of Rose is one thing. There's all these games that can be $1,000, but like we've done this like ad infinitum, I feel like, and we touch on it a lot, but so many games that are super affordable and also super good. And there are just alternatives to all these expensive games. People always pick these one thing and then they forget, like, Tyler, yeah, so there was a $90,000 Castlevania. Did anyone talk about the like $100 Castlevania that's available, or what?
What's the $100 Castlevania, Johnny?
Just like a regular one. Like, I mean, I don't know if it's exactly $100. Was it $200, the oval seal? So it's like, these are just bad examples that people cite just to reinforce their own narrative. And and that's what I want to push back on a little bit. This isn't exactly true. Like, we try to tell people games aren't that expensive, but they're constantly, it's games are too expensive. And in some cases, yeah, some are there, but there has to be alternatives. You have to know what you're looking for, and you have to ask yourself why. Like, fine. Like, I don't understand what it is about the mentality too. It's like, at some point you have to be able to say, no, that's dumb and too expensive, and I'm just not going to buy it. Like, what else can I do instead?
Yeah, but like if you see that a wristband, a gold wristband that's limited edition from Universal Studios is going for $80 on eBay, you could just say, that's dumb. My Amiibo collection doesn't need that.
Yes, you could do that. But there are more reasons that games are expensive, and I know you wanted to go into a few more.
I mean, I think a lot of like the negative people. I don't like singling out people, but there are negative people in game collecting. Like they watch these channels like Phoenix Resale and Chase After the Right Price, and I don't know a lot about them because I don't watch these channels. But people get really worked up over the idea of resellers. And you know what? There was even a Japanese tweet that I shared on the Discord. It was a guy complaining that Surugaya, which is a Japanese game reseller, their shelves weren't stocked. Like they had half the amount of PlayStation games that they used to have back in the day, and they didn't have any Famicom disk systems anymore. And he was complaining that tourists were ruining the hobby of game collecting because they were buying all the games. And I'm just thinking, like, the people with these mentalities, they think that the resellers are the ones ruining the hobby. They're buying all the games just to resell them. Surugaya is a reseller. They buy games from people and then resell them for more money. So if they have less stock, the reseller has less stock, and you're complaining that the hobby is being ruined. So what is it? Do you want the resellers to have the best stock available? That means you want the most quote unquote scalping that there could possibly be. And in some sense, I do want that. How great would it be to walk into a store and it's just, oh man, Super Mario 64, The Legend of Zelda, Final Fantasy VII, Undertale, Super Mario 3 Contra. What if they just had everything? How great would that be? I'd be like, man, resellers are the best. I love just getting what I want.
Yeah, but what would the prices be like if they controlled all of that stuff?
Yes, the prices would be dumb in that case, but that's not the world we live in.
No.
The world we live in is that video game stores kind of suck, and they never have good stuff in stock because people buy good stuff immediately because good stuff is fairly affordable to most people. I think if you're collecting Super Nintendo games, like Super Metroid is on the upper echelon of Super Nintendo games. It's like a $300 game. $250, but you probably want the $300 copy. But if you're buying all these games that are like Donkey Kong Country for $70 and Super Mario RPGs like $200, like if Super Metroid's like a top 3 game on Super Nintendo, you're gonna just spend the $250 on it, which is what, four modern games. And I realize like I don't want to get into the argument that like a couple $100 isn't that much. Put into the context of like Super Metroid being a at least top 100 game of all time, and that is like one of the most expensive of any of those games. It's not that much compared to virtually any other hobby where you start looking in that perspective.
So it's hard, right? If we do go down that road, right, and say, like, let's go, just do it. We say $250 isn't that expensive, and you say, oh, yes, it is. Like, oh, you're up in your ivory tower. It's like, but if you did buy 4 games, also, people never put. This is the thing. I know I try to do a lot, but I try to just frame the time. How old is Super Metroid? It took it, 30 years to get to that price? 30 years, but people they're like, oh, that's too expensive, but you want to go pay $150 for some special edition bullshit game that came with a bunch of tchotchkes that isn't the thing. That's not the thing. It's never going to be the thing.
Johnny, the thing is Baldur's Gate 3 limited edition. I think it's around like $800 now, and it doesn't include the game.
I know. There are so many modern games that are dumb expensive for reasons I don't understand. And then we retro games just always get picked on. Like, it's just like, oh, these are all too expensive and dumb.
I mean, because Johnny, did you ever notice Super Metroid? It doesn't come with a statue. If it came with a statue of Ellie from The Last of Us, people would be like, oh yeah, of course that's $300. It comes with a statue of Ellie from The Last of Us.
Oh, cool. No, thank you.
Literally, people would think that if you literally put Super Metroid with a statue of Samus, like just a regular, like you take a Super Nintendo copy of the game, not like a reprint or something, and you bundled it with a copy with a $5 statue of Samus in like a big box, they could sell it for $1,000, and people would be like, yeah, that makes sense because it comes with a statue.
They're never like, how much did that statue cost to make?
Yeah. No, Johnny, big box. It looks good on the gram. People will know, yo, I've got the Baldur's Gate 3 limited collector's edition. that doesn't have a copy of the game. It came with the digital key.
Yeah. Oh, here, this Diablo Collector's Edition, also no game, but it's got some candles.
Pretty sick candles, I bet, though.
They are sick. They look great. They look amazing. No, thank you, though.
So we're comparing it to like, so kind of like one of the best games of all time compared to like modern stupid stuff. Like we're kind of staying in the same hobby, Johnny. All right, let's jump around a bit. I want to talk about every other hobby for a second.
Okay.
Have you heard about comic books?
I've never heard about them. Are these things that you read?
Yeah. So
and that book in the title.
This is not a surprise, Johnny. The most expensive comic books are a lot more expensive than the most expensive video games. But you're talking your Action Comics 1, you're talking your Detective Comics 27, you got the first Wonder Woman, you got the first Captain America, you got Marvel Comics 1, like everything that's the best thing you could possibly own in comic books is like all the rarest, most key, historical, oldest, mintest issues. And if you like comics, you're not going to own any of that. Like the stretch goals for most people who collect comic books, this is in my experience as someone like mostly looking outside in, they go for like Silver Age keys because our average person could realistically maybe own a Silver Age key comic book. But the absolute top stuff that has ever been made, you basically can't own that. You're not going to buy an Action Comics 1 if you're a normal guy, unless you really stretch.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be exceptions to this, but I think what happens, and you're right, as a guy who went back and bought a few silver keys, the other thing that you can do in comics, if you want a silver key, and you want to feel like you're in the game there a little bit, you can buy lower condition stuff and feel all right. Like you're like, oh, a 6.5 and a 7 actually don't look bad, and these are the drop off from like a 9.4 or 9.8 on those like silver keys. It's a tremendous drop. And in video games, we don't really have that kind of parity yet because there's not enough graded examples of most things. People think there's so many of this graded game. There isn't really. It's not, these usually aren't fair comparisons. The other things that comics has going for it, and we both know this, is that there's so many comic books, and I think this is what I don't hear as many people. I know people will say graded comics are like expensive, but I don't hear people, just average comic book collectors that are going out to shops now. They're not like, man, comic books are just too expensive. We can't do this anymore, because every week you get a bunch of comics for $5. I think new comic prices are like, I'm like, I can't believe all these are $5. Back in my day, they were all $2. Now I feel bad spending a $5 or more on each copy. But there's still these bins, right? Every shop has just these large bins. It's like $1. You can just dig through and you can find really great books, and it's just $1. So it makes it feel like the hobby isn't that expensive. Even if the top end of their hobby is
for $1. I mean, you could find like readable books, but they're not going to be like things people know of. And like there are good books that are like $10, but even the dollar bins aren't going to.
I'm saying great as in like, oh, I enjoy I enjoy Batman. I love Batman. All these new Batman stories that came out like within the last 3 years, they're $1, $2. Cool, great. Because they didn't sell for whatever reason, because they made 300 different Batman books this year. But games aren't really like that. It's just a much bigger process to make a game. So there's just not that many games to have a bunch of $1 or $5 bins that you can just troll through back issues of like you can for games. It doesn't matter if the higher end of comics looks so much more ridiculous than the high end of video games. People aren't out there being like, yep, comics are just too expensive.
But Johnny, so the high end of video games, the most expensive games ever sold, that $90,000 Castlevania is up there in the club, but $2 million, at least as far as I know, I don't think it's been
Wasn't
broken.
It $3 million for that N64 Mario?
That was 1.5 million, unless they sold I doubt they sold another one. No, there was $2 million for a hang tab Mario. It wasn't even like the sticker sealed one. It was like a hang tab Mario. Some guy is like a generic collector. He has like all sorts of sports stuff and stuff. He bought it for $2 million. Then there was the $1.5 million Super Mario 64. I mean, I'm just trying to think. I remember that Tecmo sale. I remember like Twisted Metal's up there, Tomb Raider's up there. All these fucking sealed games. We can own the exact same thing for like $200. And like Tomb Raider Twisted Metal, like $10, $50, whatever those cost. Like Super Mario Brothers is the most expensive game ever sold. And you could literally own the exact object, not a reprint. This isn't like a Black Lotus where you got like the Alpha Black Lotus is like, $100,000 in mint condition or whatever, and like, oh, I got the unlimited one at least. I got this like shitty version of it. No, you can get the exact variant that's sold for $2 million, and you could probably get it on eBay for like $300, like 99.9% off. And that you can't do that in any other hobby. Like the absolute top stuff, and it's just like, oh, it's shrink wrap away, and it's like 99.999% off.
Right. I can hear some of our Discord now just cringing, being like, it's not exactly the same, because it's like, yeah, look, okay, you save your revision. Mostly similar. Settle down, guys. But
what revision? Right. What revision? It's like, tell me, I don't know what the $2 million Mario is. The fourth, the five, a sixth print, whatever people start calling them.
For the N64 one, you can definitely get the exact same one, but like on the Mario, there's so many revisions on Mario. People are like, oh, the actual one that sold was this, and it had this insert and this, and it was only released at this time. So
no, that guy didn't give a shit about any of that. He wanted like the nicest condition hang tab. I don't think he cared about the variant other than a hang tab, which it's, in my opinion, is how we should care about Mario. Who cares what like minor revision of hang tab you have? You got the hang tab. Congratulations, you did the thing. That's the hard one to find sealed.
I agree. I don't get into the weeds on that. I think it's interesting to know that those exist, and I'm glad that people do care, because I think that's important to just have a stockpile of knowledge when we want to get into the weeds. But it's not a driving force in my collecting. But what I am saying is you are right. I just wanted to curb off all the people who may come. Yeah, we put a lot of premium and a lot of value on this, so I don't understand how in our value stream we got here. And that's why I asked you, like, why do people think this? Why do people think that these games are expensive when we have plenty of examples where they're not? And people, I know a lot of people always say, oh, well, you just cited a bunch of $1 million sales for video games and comic books. Usually you don't see that big. It's like, yeah, we have a very small, like that Tyler could rattle off the top of his head, because there's been that few that have ever happened, and set pinnacle sales that we probably aren't reaching again, because it was in a crazed market time when these things were occurring. Well, other sales have come in. I mean, we've talked about it. How many sales have just like been laughable? The same game going for half or a third or an eighth of what it sold for at peak.
So like literally everything happened in 2021. So we're talking a Poke Park Wii 2, a game that you can't even conjure to mind what that gameplay looks like, sold for $20,000 in 2021, because 2021 was just bananas crazy.
And for whatever it is, market manipulation, scam, WADA, all of it. Yes. The pandemic, Bitcoin, all crypto, everything was happening. Yes, all of that is true. Drove the market insane. We once did a episode, what we call it, The Market is Euphoric. Buy everything now. So yeah, it was this crazy time where all this happened. Comic books, when they sell at these big prices, this is just like, this can be in down times economically, and you'll still get these big comic book sales because the big collectors are doing this. We still aren't comparable to all of these things that we know are very expensive. But video games, always, like, the narrative is so much more fierce and direct that games are too expensive. Old games are too expensive. The hobby has been ruined. Tyler, it's ruined.
Johnny, I don't know. The hobby? Yes, the hobby has been ruined. I'm quitting. I don't know a lot about sports cards, but I know that it's incredible. They put out different tiers of product depending on just like how much money you're willing to spend. So it's like, you're willing to spend $200 in a hobby box? We got the product for you. You're willing to spend $1,000 in a hobby box? That's excellent. We're going to print more random cards and we have the product for you.
And they're modern. These aren't even like classic examples. This is modern bullshit.
New sports cards will sell for thousands of dollars if you have like the exact right thing. Like, I don't know how all the stars align, but the stars align on certain cards, and like brand new sports cards are worth thousands of dollars. And they're so limited, and they've got all the variants and bullshit going on. you literally can't own like your favorite cards probably. Like maybe you could go after like one that like your favorite player, but like if you think about every player you've ever loved through history, like there's probably one of one cards you can't get. There's probably some Mickey Mantle rookie card that you want that's $20,000 that's just like out of reach for you because it's just too much to spend on a freaking piece of cardboard. And like I realized that like it's about personal satisfaction, it's about collecting what you love. It would endlessly nag at me knowing, even though, you know, I could enjoy collecting my Substat and be like, oh, you guys don't understand, like these cards are so cool and like they're cheap and this is fun and whatever. There is something in me that would nag at me forever, knowing I couldn't have the exact card that I really wanted if I collected sports cards, let alone the fact that are like multiple coming out every year that I would never be able to own.
The new card thing is wild because you said thousands of dollars, but sometimes it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like certain like Prism rookie card, like this, the most nonsensical.
Prism, the poor people tier? Johnny, I'm talking about national treasures, please.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. They're like, you can be so ridiculous with sports cards if you want. And no one's like, well, these are the oldest, best things. So of course they're expensive. This is just new trash that they put out this year. What is happening? But meanwhile, they're like, man, that Super Metroid from 30 years ago is $300 and video game resellers are crooks and everything's too expensive. How dare everyone do this to me? I'm so confused, Tyler. When is Nintendo going to start putting out reprints of these Super Nintendo games so everyone can afford them?
They did. It's called the Nintendo Switch. They actually reprinted every game, Johnny. You missed it. You were supposed to buy every game as it came out. And then when you couldn't keep up with the literal 4,000 releases that you were buying from Best Buy at $30 each, complain that like, oh man, this hobby's too expensive. When you were trying to buy every game. All right, here's a question. Why are you trying to buy every game?
Yeah, because something is broken inside of me, Tyler.
Well, yeah, this is really a question I need to ask you. But all right, I posted a good old meme in the Discord. It's maybe you don't identify with this. I don't know how much SpongeBob you know, but it's like a Poseidon guy and SpongeBob are competing to make Krabby Patties, and the Poseidon guy has made 1,000 Krabby Patties because he made them as fast as possible. And it's like a competition to who can make the most Krabby Patties. And SpongeBob makes one, and he's really proud of it. And SpongeBob wins the contest because he's the only one who made a Krabby Patty correctly. Because you know what? SpongeBob bought one video game that he really appreciates, and the other guy was going to Goodwill and getting pickups and buying lots and just loading his shelf up with junk until he couldn't afford to like sustain it all anymore, and it all collapsed in on himself. So why are you being that guy, and why aren't you being SpongeBob, buying and appreciating the one thing you actually want, which, as we all know, is a complete in box Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo?
Yeah, I mean, or you could keep just buying everything.
Stop buying everything. I mean, it was like in the culture of this hobby 20 years ago, people wanted full Nintendo sets. Because guess what? A complete box Nintendo game cost like $7. But we're in the era where like the random bullshit, there's going to be a bunch of random bullshit and it's going to be like $100 for Narkista's Ring or whatever game you don't actually care about. You start buying like 30 of those, all of a sudden that's a lot fewer Super Metroids that you could have been buying.
Which I want to make clear is not too expensive. That's just fine. That's just a price. It's not crazy expensive, but the point of it is, and why it feels so bad, is people look at a bunch of these games, like Arkista's Ring, super uncommon game, you should be picking that up if you don't own it. Hard to find, complete in box. You see 75 games you just don't care about, and they're all like $100 or more. And you're like, oh, so this hobby is too expensive. If this shit I don't care about is expensive, then the stuff I must really love is expensive. And that may or may not even be true.
Johnny, do you care about Magic Knight Rayearth?
No, not even a little.
How many collectors could we talk to who are like, oh, hell yeah, Magic Knight Rayearth, but at the end of the day, it's just like, oh, Magic Knight Rayearth, that's a working designs game, and it's expensive. Like, a lot of people, and all right, don't hit me up with me, the 3 people who have played Magic Knight Rayearth through completion, and like, no, it's a pretty good game. Most collector, I'm I'm putting it in the most category, will look at Magic Knight Rayearth and just appreciate it for its collectible value, because they don't give a shit about Magic Knight Rayearth. You don't need to own Magic Knight Rayearth. They're just, a lot of these games are just bullshit. And Johnny, let me talk about what we've held in like the highest regard for decades at this point. Until like 2019, besides like 3 people collecting sealed games on like Sealed Game Heaven. Heaven? I don't even remember anymore.
I think it was Haven.
Johnny, Nintendo World Championships, a contest that you didn't attend and you don't actually care about. Stadium events, a Power Pad game that sold poorly, and the re-release you don't care about. Donkey Kong Country Competition, Star Fox Super Weekend, Power Fest, again, contests you didn't attend and don't care about. Sculptor's Cut, a game that just shouldn't be collectible, but for some reason it is. Air Raid, Gamma Attack, Atlantis 2, Red Sea Crossing, Extraterrestrials, Birthday Mania, like your grandpa's forgotten garbage. Cheetah Men 2, your dad's forgotten garbage from the garage. Aero Fighters, an arcade port that like people literally care about the poster for this game more than they care about the gameplay. The Panesians on NES, literal porn. Johnny, what are we talking about? I'm talking about Max. I'm talking about Myriad 6-in-1. All of like the traditional collectible games are just trash. Literally throw them all in the garbage. No one cares about any of them. And like you could have some level of historical interest in like a Nintendo World Championships, but you're talking about Cheetah Men 2 and Air Raid and all this just like junk, and you're gonna look at every other hobby and compare it to fucking Superman and Black Lotus and is the inverted Jenny cool? I don't know. The most expensive coin is the first coin that was ever minted by the US Mint. It's worth like $7 million. Like the other hobbies have cool shit, and we have like junk for weirdos. And we're the weirdos. And yeah, dude, you show me your Myriad 6-in-1. I think it's super cool, but it's also, in the realest sense of the word, junk.
Yeah. We look, you don't have to sell me on this. I was very early on in the hype train being like, man, I hope that one day we value things like Mario, the things that people actually have nostalgia for instead of the stupid shit. And, you know, I fished my wish, kinda. It happened.
I mean, it happened, but like Mario went from $30 to $200. And like, yeah, that sucks if you just realized, if you didn't want it when it was 30, but you just realized, oh, now there's 200. Oh, I want it now. Like there are worse things to have happened. If you missed out on Bitcoin when it was 5 cents and it went up to $60,000, that's like an, oh, whoops, now I can't get a Bitcoin or whatever. But like you could still probably get Mario if it's literally the most expensive and most collectible game of all time for 200.
Yeah, that guy who paid for, what was it, a pizza with like 4 Bitcoins or something?
It was like 10,000 Bitcoin, I think.
That guy will forever live his life in a, this is how I ruined my life. My life could be so much different and better if I didn't eat a
Johnny,
pizza.
If he paid 10,000 Bitcoins for a pizza, he probably had so much more random Bitcoin left over. I'm sure he's doing just fine.
You think so? I hope so.
Johnny, I brought up a list of the top, I'm sorry, this is a Reddit post, but they aggregated 14 top 100 games of all time. Very topical to an episode we just did, but in any case, it's all the games you'd expect on there. Ocarina of Time, GTA 5, Breath of the Wild, Last of Us, Tetris. And I went through the list, and there are 2 games that are $1,000, and it's Doom and Chrono Trigger. And then I think the third most expensive game out of the top 200 games ever, this is like the mass opinion of the blogosphere, is Super Metroid. And that's like in the $300 to $400 range. And like after that, like you got a couple that are in the hundreds, you know, Super Mario 64 and your Ocarina of Time. And then it's like, you know, $5 to $50 games.
Well, it's funny, like Doom, you can get a cheap version of Doom if you really want it.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, you have your alternative. There's never not an alternative. So you could get the ultimate Doom, which is like $75, because yeah, the mail order Doom is weird and uncommon and expensive. But like, you could still have a copy of Doom. You could get a port of Doom. Everyone hates PC games. You could buy Doom on the PlayStation. You could buy Doom on the Super Nintendo.
Don't do that.
I mean, I wouldn't, but there's a lot of people who just hate PC games, Johnny. And you know what? You don't have to collect for me. You can collect for you. And Johnny, I'm going to let you in on a secret that I frequently let slip on the Collector's Quest podcast. And it's regarding these games like Chrono Trigger and Super Mario RPG and Earthbound. Earthbound not on the list, by the way. You can get them, the original versions, Johnny, actually. And let me tell you where you can get these. So,
don't do it.
In Japan, these games actually came out in Japan first. How much cheaper can you get a Chrono Trigger or an Earthbound in Japan, Johnny? Half off?
No.
A quarter off?
More.
98% cheaper for the original version. That's like showing you an unlimited Black Lotus, that's a third print Black Lotus for those of you who don't play Magic, and telling you you can get the alpha print for 2% of the price. That's not a greatest hit. That's not a reprint. That's not a reissue. That's not a remake. That's the original thing, and you don't have to value it more. I realize they're way more common. You don't have to think it's more collectible or anything. But if you can't afford a $1,500 copy of Chrono Trigger, and you're just like, oh, I don't want the Japanese game. I can't play that version. Oh, Japanese games are so common. They are common, and you have your pick of the litter, and you can go through them until you find a near mint copy, and you could just put the game you love on a shelf for 98% off. Just do that instead of complaining that, that's not the version I had as a kid. If it's that important to you, then pay $1,500 for a copy of Chrono Trigger. But if you're gonna just complain about the price for years and years and years, just get the Japanese one.
Yes. Also, the people who have been complaining about Chrono Trigger and the price of Chrono Trigger have been complaining about the price of Chrono Trigger since it was $150.
Oh yeah, I mean yeah, and now they would go back, and I'm not saying that's going to happen with every video game ever, but yeah, now everyone would go back to a time they complained, and they wish they could just buy every video game at that price.
But this specifically, you could see the arc of Chrono Trigger and how it was going up. You're just like, oh yeah, this game is it's never not been popular. It's never not been a critical darling. It's never not been in the mainstream. It's not like some obscure game that some YouTuber did a video on and suddenly the game exploded and became unobtainable.
Johnny, I love Chrono Trigger, but when you start comparing it to every other 10 out of 10 Super Nintendo game, and you're like, whoa, that's 4 Chrono Triggers right there. Like Super Metroid. It's 4 Super Metroids to a Chrono Trigger. I just start thinking man, really? Shouldn't Chrono Trigger should be a little cheaper? I mean, compared to everything, it seems like Chrono Trigger should be a little cheaper, or Super Metroid should be more expensive. Those, one's an RPG, but those seem like they should be a little bit more in line. I don't know.
Super Nintendo RPGs have always been holding a premium.
Of
right?
course.
Always.
I mean, RPG is just a genre that has a premium in general.
Yeah. Because when people do play it, then, your value for money is your time you spend playing versus what the game costs is still probably a good value.
I mean, it's because every time I play an RPG, I did this with Might and Magic on NES. If I beat an RPG, I have to own it because there's literally, I've already wasted so much time in my life on this game. I have so many games I will never play. If I played an RPG, I have to own that game. Let's not be crazy.
It's a merit badge. It's a merit badge that you put on your shelf. I did this. I earned this. That's how I think about it.
All right, Johnny, I'm just going over the other notes we had on this episode.
I have a question for you.
What's up?
So, one, I want to talk more about alternatives, right? Because I think I want to cover this because, yes, games have gone up in price. The economy's gone up. Money, all this stuff happened. Games got relatively more expensive. Are they expensive? I think in general, not actually really, especially when you consider how many games are out there. There is a handful that are expensive and there are versions that are expensive. But what would it take? And I know you and I we're simpatico. We believe the same thing. But the guy coming from Reddit, what would it take for me to make you believe games aren't too expensive?
So I know you haven't been doing this, but let's pretend that I've been keeping a record of all the games I bought. And I'm talking about the time you went to the game store and you're like, oh, the Jet Moto series. Let me buy all the Jet Moto games because that would only be like $40. So all of that, and I mean, that's fine. Buy Jet Moto. Jet Moto is a cool game. Just bring up your purchases for the last year and I would just start adding a bunch of stuff together. And I would find $400 in those purchases. And I'd be like, look at all this garbage. What was that? The limited run games? Are you serious? Why did you buy this? I would add up all that stuff and be like, there it is. There's Super Metroid. Or if you're really going crazy, I would be like, hey, there it is. There's Chrono Trigger. You're telling me you bought all this $40 junk instead of Chrono Trigger. What were you doing last year? And I mean, I know there's some people, I like, if your budget is $10 a month for games, I mean, there's still cool games you could get from this top 200 list. Literally half the list is less than $10. But I think most people are probably spending hundreds of dollars a year on video games in this hobby.
Yes.
And that turns in, at some point, every couple months, even if you're spending $100 a month, every couple months, every few months, that turns into a Super Metroid, which I will remind you is the third most expensive game on the top 200 list.
So here's another thing I just want to tell people. Every time you like hear these narratives, and this isn't like me pitching for video games, like go out and spend more. I don't think you should do that. I think you should actually spend less, and I think you should buy less. This is definitely a do as I say, not as I do moment. For all of those who want to be like, you goddamn hypocrite. Yeah, I know what I am. I know I'm a junk hoarder, but
I'm reformed.
Magic, kind of.
I don't collect sets anymore.
That's what set have I completed recently? None. Magic and video games have a very common problem, and that they are designed for children in some sense. Magic isn't really designed for children. Video games aren't really designed for children anymore, but there are a lot of children who play them. There are definitely certain games are played for kids, and kids typically are not well-off individuals. They are poor by design because they don't have jobs and they have parents who support them and they have to ask for things. So everything that costs money seems unobtainable. And then when you're younger and you're in college and you don't have your job, like all of these prices seem very elevated. So I think, the people who tend to go to some of these places who scream the loudest about these are of a specific time, place, and economic class that it's not their fault or anything, that also get the lion's share of the attention. They are the loud, and I'm not even going to say minority, they're, a well-represented population, but they're loud, and it's just, they carry a lot of noise, and that noise carries a lot of weight, but no one's really going, oh yeah, like, of course, like, your one-off Magic deck, that's $300 and that seems very expensive, and you could buy like an Xbox with that. Yeah, I agree, that's kind of expensive, but to an adult, you're like, oh, that's like the one modern deck I'm going to play for the next 5 years or something close to it. Like, that seems fine. Or this is Super Metroid, I only ever need to buy this 100 or one time, not 100 times. Yeah, I get that that's expensive, but like, you could figure it out. But when you are 16 and you just love old video games, and you're like, Super Metroid is $300. How am I ever going to get that? And I like come from, a poor family, and like, how am I ever going to do this? I can barely afford Game Pass. Yeah, I get that, how that seems, but like, I just want to remind people that those people's voices are in this mix too. So they're shouting. So be critical in your thinking about what this is. Please compare to other hobbies, please. And then also please look for the alternatives. And that's where I turn it back to you. So for the people who can't go spend $300, like you talked about some Japanese, what are other alternatives? What else can we do?
All right. I mean, so if we're getting down to like, you can't afford Game Pass, I don't want to like say that like, just because I say like video game collecting is cheap, I can't magically make every single game like literally cheap, like literally $20. Like even Super Metroid in Japan is
well, we've had those episodes. You can buy modern games. You can buy some of the best modern games for $5.
Yes.
Yeah.
The thing that triggered this episode, I was on eBay. I don't know why I was looking for Portal 2, but it was like 1 cent plus shipping for a nice complete in box Xbox 360 Portal 2. It's like,
So
Portal 2 is worth 1 cent, huh? Okay.
it is worth the shipping.
Yeah. It's worth to get it out of my house. Portal 2, who wants it? Who wants to hook up an Xbox 360 and play some stupid game? It's a sequel. It's not even the original. Ugh.
Oh, so good.
Johnny, I just want to say, if you're like 16 years old, like, your nostalgia is probably Xbox 360, right? And PS3. Like, you don't need more than your $10 a month to go buy something cool, right?
You mean PS4?
How old are we? When did Xbox come out? Oh, geez. What was that, 2018, 2008? Oh my God, they would have been 0 in 2008?
So, PS4 games are your nostalgia. You really love The Last of Us remaster.
Oh, jeez. All right, so all the remastered games that you played, you can go buy the Xbox 360 and PS3 originals for like $5. Huh?
Yeah, pretty good.
All right, so here, I probably have to clarify this to someone who's that young and collecting. You're not going to play your games. You just have to, you might not realize this for another 10 years. Just whatever you're buying to appreciate what it represents, and you're never going to play them. And you think you're going to play them, and you think you're building a backlog, and you think like, oh, someday I'll have time for this. No, actually, what are you? You're 19 years old. Yeah, you have the most time right now. Like, you think school is busy? Like, no, you have the most time. Play all your games now, and you're never going to play them in the future. So
yeah, here's some further notes for all of you 19 to 24-year-olds. You aren't that busy. Don't talk about how busy you are and you're just overwhelmed. I promise it seems that way, but it's never going backwards. At least not yet. I don't know, like, until maybe when you retire it goes backwards. This is your forever state. You're always going to be this busy.
Johnny, I think this I'm not as familiar with the world that the youth are growing up in, but I am almost positive there is some amount of like scrolling Instagram and TikTok and YouTube that you could cut out if you really wanted to make time for video games. I think we spend a lot of time on social media. I mean, me too. I cut out all the social media, but I'm still on YouTube all day. We waste a lot of time. It's easier than ever to waste time with no effort, and putting effort into a video game, it requires a little bit of effort.
Yeah.
So you've got time. You're just lying to yourself. People who say you're busy.
What are we doing? What are we? And also, no one who's 16 is listening to the show. We're talking to old dudes. Talk to our people.
I don't. Who are our people? Our people already have problems. Our people are the ones who are collecting every video game. You guys got to stop. Why don't you have a copy of Half-Life yet? Yo, shout out to Strange in the Discord. Just bought a PC copy of Half-Life because he's like, hey, I don't have Half-Life. Yeah, dude, you have Half-Life now. Got like a nice first print Half-Life. That's what it's about, dude.
Nice one. You got it.
Be the guy who buys one game and appreciates it. I'm becoming a curmudgeon-y old man, but more than ever, I hate pickups. Stop buying random shit. And we've already had a whole episode on stop buying stuff you don't need, Johnny. Video game collecting is not expensive if you actually focus and you actually care about each thing you buy.
Yeah.
Johnny, you were talking about alternatives.
Yeah, alternatives. I mentioned this one a little bit already, but like, just downgrade your condition. Don't worry about sealed games. That'll make you feel like games aren't as expensive. And I'm not saying like card only necessarily, but if you really want it, you can do that. That will significantly lower your cost. And if it's about playing it, if it's about playing it, you're operating in a different ballpark. We're not playing the same sport. These are not the same thing. If you're collecting it to own it and you haven't lied to yourself about your backlog and like when you're actually getting to all that, then, get the copy you can afford. And if you're looking at CIBs and CIBs, it's like, well, you're like, oh, I only buy mint CIBs. Well, then maybe consider like a 7 instead of a 10 and save yourself some money.
I think just downgrading what you buy doesn't feel good. I think for a lot of the things you buy, like if you can't afford something, Rule of Rose, whatever stupid game you think you want, why do you want it? Why do you want a Rule of Rose? Is it just because that's
for the gram?
Like, who told you that that's a good thing to have?
Not us.
If you want Rule of Rose, like, is it because it's like collectible survival horror? Because Do you think it's the rarest PS2 game? Should you if that is the case, how can you confirm that? Can you maybe search for, I'm just picking a random game, Tulip and Rule of Rose on eBay and see which one has more copies available? And you'll notice, oh, it's Rule of Rose. That's weird considering it's the rarest PS2 game. But are you just into survival horror and like, do you have an Alone in the Dark? Do you have a long box Resident Evil? Like, where are you at your point in your survival horror or PS2 journey where you decided, yeah, $600 on Rule of Rose is the next thing I should buy? Maybe
Especially
it is.
because
I don't know.
If it's that rare, you probably didn't own it as a kid. So where did you get this nostalgia from?
And yeah, are you having FOMO? And if you're like starting to have FOMO, like, oh, if I don't get Rule of Rose now, how am I going to get it in the future? Like, start looking at how many copies are available compared, and this is a stupid example, PC Alone in the Dark. Johnny, PC Alone in the Dark, you said it on recent episode, it has a place in gaming history, even if no one cares about it. Some people care about it, but essentially no one cares about it. I
would say, we came down on Mystery House probably being the thing, but I think you could make some argument that Alone in the Dark should be standing right there as well.
I absolutely don't agree, but
because you're a crazy person who thinks that Mystery House, a game that sold how many copies compared to Alone in the Dark, which was a huge hit and a revolution, and helped push the genre forward in ways that we're still dealing with. You want to talk about comparables? Show me your receipts.
And no one thinks about it anymore. Yeah. But I mean,
no one thinks about it, but barely anyone even knows Mystery House exists. And you're talking to a guy who really wants Mystery House.
At the end of the day, what you're buying is like 2 hits of dopamine. You get the hit of dopamine for winning the auction, and you get the hit of dopamine for opening the box for the first time.
Don't forget cataloging it. Come on.
Oh, I'm way past cataloging my games. I just have piles of nonsense, Johnny. You kidding me? Still haven't sorted out my COVID mess. Sure, and I guess you can get some more dopamine by looking at it. But I mean, the alternative could be just deciding that, I don't know, the reason you're buying a game is wrong. What's another stupid game? If you've never played Earthbound, stop caring about Earthbound right now. If you've never played Earthbound, why do you care about Earthbound? Is it because it has a big box? Who cares?
Yeah, I mean, I would just, I can hear a lot of people oh, well, I'm the RPG collector. Well, it's okay, well then fine. Then figure out how to get an Earthbound then.
Or if you're if you've played Earthbound and it's your favorite game and all that, all right, then you're screwed, or you can get a Mother 2 for $30. But if you haven't played Earthbound, even if you're the RPG collector, why do you care? You care because it's the gram. It's the hype game. It comes in a cool big box with some scratch and sniff cards or stickers. I don't remember what they are.
Cards. They're attached to the back of the
Johnny, how many cool collectible RPGs are there that you could get for $2,000?
A lot. Look, I'm kind of the wrong guy to ask because I did play Earthbound as a teenager, and I do think it's great. I legitimately think it's great. And when I went buying all of my Super Nintendo RPGs, Earthbound was near it was oh, this is in my top 10 RPGs I'm going to go grab for the Super Nintendo because I love RPGs. I'm an RPG guy and I love Super Nintendo. But Johnny, if you aren't that guy,
then looking at Reddit at the people who, whenever an Earthbound gets posted, these guys are 17 years old. All right. They're not the guys who played Earthbound when they were a kid.
No, they're upset because they heard about Earthbound and it's cool. And they're like, I don't have $1,000. Of course you don't. You're 17. I don't know. Maybe 17-year-olds have a lot more money. I had so little money at 17.
There's inflation now. I think their allowance is $150 a week, probably.
Dude, I was so poor. So poor that I can't even comprehend how I walked around day to day.
Johnny, my allowance was $10 a month. I don't know how I was not a negotiator even as a kid. And I learned that some of my friends got weekly allowances, and it's because never compare yourself with anyone ever. Hey, it's another good tip for the show, but I felt terrible about my allowance forever after that.
Oh man, here, you want to feel better? You had an allowance? Wow.
I'm pretty sure I got an allowance because I learned about the concept like watching Saturday morning cartoons. I'm like, why don't I have an allowance? What the heck?
Sometimes I was given a few food stamps and I was allowed to go down to the store and buy something.
Oh, like whatever you want? That's pretty sick.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah.
Hey, Johnny, quick update. BioShock's $10.
Oh, yeah, still love it.
Okay, just saying.
Who was lately, like, someone was trying to shit on BioShock lately, and I was like, no, BioShock's great. Get out of here.
No, I'll let you shit on BioShock. I'll let you shit on any first-person shooter. This genre is just more overrated than any other genre. So, you know what? You want to take down some first-person shooters, I'll let you. Take down, like, System Shock 2, Doom, whatever. Like, I love those games, but I'll let you do it. You convince me that rhythm games and shooters are better because gameplay is all that matters. I'm in.
Anyways. You're an insane person, but that's fine. So our point is, as an alternative, just don't buy it if you don't have a good reason. Just buy things, and again, do as we say, not as we do. If you don't have a reason to buy it, what are you buying it for? And that reason, like, please evaluate it. Do some critical thinking on it, because what you're going to find is, like, you maybe got talked into an expensive game. Games aren't that expensive. There's a lot of cheap ones that you're probably going to enjoy better, or maybe you just don't need this version. Like, you could be doing a lot. Or if you just buy less, you could buy a few of those expensive games, and then you're going to feel really good about them. They're going to be your premier pieces. You're going to like to show them off. And it's a lot easier to talk about, like, the 5 or 6 cool games you have on a shelf than, like, walking to a room where people go, what the fuck is this? And you can't explain anything. You get your only out is, yeah, I guess I collect old games. Huh? Can you tell? So, anyways.
Johnny, the people that I see that are quitting collecting and complaining about prices, at least on YouTube, I can't see behind the screen of like a Reddit comment or something. But when someone is making an game collecting is dead, everything's too expensive, I'm quitting collecting video, they always are sitting in front of the IKEA bookcases that are full of games. They've got like at least 2,000 games. And they're like, this is it. This is too expensive. And it's like, I've never seen someone who has like the one bookshelf full of like just the high quality good stuff, all the Mega Mans and Super Marios and Pokemon and all that. I've never seen that person be like, oh, I'm quitting collecting. This is it. This is too much. Because person has 200 games, and in their eyes, they know they've collected the 200 best games. Why would they quit? They're buying one thing at a time, and all of them matter.
Yeah, instead it's the guys who are in junk shops picking up the junk and being like, oh, I got it because it was a good deal. And the stuff that's really good isn't a good deal, so it all must be too expensive.
And now that their junk is still junk and the good stuff is like, oh man, if I bought the good stuff, now it's expensive. And they're left with the junk. And I was there too. I lived through 2019. Guess what? I'm some of the most junk of anyone listening to this podcast.
Again,
I have a lot of junk, Johnny. Oh my God.
Dude, Tyler, look who you're talking to.
Yeah, well, you got complete and box junk at least. I've got like the worst junk. You know how many Famicom and Super Famicom and Nintendo and Super Nintendo cartridges I have? Game Boy? I have a full loose Game Boy set.
Oh, send it to me. I'll take it for you.
No, stop. Johnny, I think I spent $180 on what ended up being a fake Swamp Thing. And then like a year or two later, I had to buy another copy of Swamp Thing loose on the Game Boy. Like, what a fucking waste of money and time that was.
That is a tragedy.
If you're collecting a complete Game Boy set, you're like, oh, it's expensive. This sucks. So don't do it. Don't collect Swamp Thing on the Game Boy.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing that happened with me on a lot of stuff. Because I was in the middle of sets and I was just like, man, like I pick up 3DS games when I see them and they're like reasonable. I'm like, yeah, it seems all right. I'll grab it. I wish I would have had my list with me or ready for Milwaukee. Man, there was so many deals at Milwaukee. Like, it was more, it's not that they were even deals. It was just like, oh, prices were a lot more reasonable than I expected. But
I think it was probably just, it's 2024, but I thought prices were okay. And I think it could just be that prices are coming down, or there's not enough demand for old stuff compared to how many people already have it. Like, I can't believe how many copies of The Legend of Zelda complete in box in like decent condition I saw for $100 to $300. Like a really nice second print, so R instead of TM, $200. And I'm like, are you serious? This has been here for 3 days and no one bought this? And then I didn't buy it because I already got it.
But a bunch of nice. You mentioned the N64 stuff. Wish I would have known, because I would have upgraded a bunch of stuff that was like garbage tier boxes in my collection. Like a bunch of nice Genesis stuff was all over the place. I was just, and the prices were, some of them were high, some of them were dumb, but some people were really reasonable. But yeah, man, I just wish, I wish I would have known. But anyways, what I was saying about that 3DS games is I looked at Barbie and I was like, if I'm going to complete this set, I have to buy Barbie. And you know that I like buying Barbie games. This is not a joke. This is a thing I've done on the show and on Instagram for a long time. Like, I enjoy buying the Barbie games because the part of me that thinks this is ridiculous that a lot of these games exist, and there's a lot of Barbie games, like, I just enjoy it. I think it's fun. And, Barbie movie now, all that aside, I was in before all that, but this Barbie game is ridiculous. It's like, oh, I would have to spend $2,000 for this on this game, and there is a DS version which is going to be the same game. It's going to be like the exact same game, and it is $6, Tyler. $6 compared to like $2,000 or $3,000, and I was just like, I can't make myself care about that. I can't make myself $2,000 care. So maybe that's the wrong thing to do. Is it worth saying I did this set thing? And then it calls into question all the other things that are left. It's like, well, why am I buying any of that? So unless it's like vaguely cool or interesting, why am I wasting my time or my money on this? What am I doing? I made a few better choices. Sometimes that happens and sometimes it does not. But yeah, really it was that Barbie moment for me. It was just like, man, I can't. This is a dumb thing to spend this much money on. And who's going to care about this? There's going to only be people that we've convinced that this is an important, iconic piece for. And they're going to be stuck. I bring this one up on the show. All these people still asking $500 to $1,000 for Shepherd's Crossing 2 on the DS. Just get the fuck out of here. I'm sorry. Please, no one buy Shepherd's Crossing. Like, if you're trying to do it, you don't have a rare, cool gem. No one cares about Shepherd's Crossing 2. I don't know if anyone's ever even played this stupid game. Please stop it. Please look at the top of the DS library and the games that are expensive, your pocket bikes, all this other dumb shit that's out there. And please really just think about if you should spend your money on these things. If you, like, Tyler, you could go buy 2 Super Metroids, or you could own Shepherd's Crossing 2 on the DS.
It's such a good metric. Because, like, Super Metroid is more expensive than the vast majority of games. Like, even in the tier of, like, good Super Nintendo games, like, it's up there. Like, $250 to $400 for a good copy of Super Metroid. And it's still, like, so good that you should own it. We should just rank everything by Super Metroids. Like, I feel like if we found, like, a good $50 game, it's almost disingenuous. Because, like, yeah, we could find, like, some complete in box. Like Tetris, $30. Like, oh, you could have Tetris instead of literally anything. Complete in box Tetris.
Super Metroid is the thing, and it's expensive.
Yes. Perfect. Everything should be held to the standard of Super Metroid.
But you could, like, also, you could buy Barbie, or you could go buy most of the Super Nintendo RPGs.
It's, oh, man. Like, put those two next to each other. Like, you got your Final Fantasy 2, 3, Super Mario RPG.
You want Chrono Trigger and Earthbound sitting next to each other and Final Fantasy 2 and 3. What do you want?
I think it's like a problem with video game collecting culture. It's how it started. So it started with everyone needed the Atari and NES games that they didn't have. And because, like, in the 2000s, like, that stuff was junk. It was obsolete, old, worthless. The idea of collecting video games wasn't even a thing yet. So no one needed Zoda's Revenge. No one needed Mike Tyson's Punch-Out because there were a billion copies available. So who cares about any of that? So the things they needed were the stadium events, the Myriad 6-in-1, the stuff no one's ever seen or heard of. And that just persisted. Like, the most expensive Nintendo game is Stadium Events. The most expensive Super Nintendo game was Mountain Bike Rally Speed Racer, the Double Card. The most expensive Game Boy game was like the two potato games. And it's just like, and those aren't bad. The potato games aren't bad. But
and they're not even, they don't even belong.
We got into our head that like the best thing that you can collect in video games is just like rare, stupid bullshit. It is normal. It's just normal that Myriad 6-in-1, which again, it's not like a bad game. Myriad 6-in-1 it's just a multi-card of whatever, but it's just stupid bullshit that doesn't matter. And that's always at the top. And then this Barbie comes along. It's like, well, it's so rare. And look at all this other stuff that's at the top of all these other sets. It's all junk. So it almost makes sense that Barbie on the 3DS should be a $2,000 game.
Or 3 or 5,000. Like, these are the price. Like, I've seen it go as high as 5.
But like, what needs to happen? I mean, this doesn't need to happen. I'm not trying to raise prices here. But if people maybe looked back at what happened in the year, I don't know, 1997, when did the Mike Etler list come out? And all that, Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario 3, The Legend of Zelda, all that stuff is like absolute junk. Because it was so available. But now we look back and it's like, oh, now this stuff's like $100, $200. Now the stuff is like, oh, it's not as available. Especially nice if you want like a collectible edition copy. So maybe we don't have to be excited about freaking Myriad 6-in-1, a game no one's ever heard of. And most of the people who have heard of it have never played it. Because who cares? It's just cool because it's a publisher variant of another rare game. We could care now about The Legend of Zelda. Johnny, oh my God. 2019, I think, 2018, I bought my copy of Super Mario Brothers, and like, yes. I posted it on like Instagram for the gram, and who cares? It was a copy of Super Mario Brothers. But now I could post it, and it's like, oh, is that the most expensive game ever? Is that an iconic? Is that the first appearance of Mario? It's not, but it's the first appearance of Super Mario.
You're welcome, by the way.
It's something. People have permission to care, which. The contrapositive of that, which I don't know if I'm using that logical word correctly, we also have permission to not care about Barbie on 3DS. Because you know what the coolest 3DS game is? It's
Chrono Trigger, which you can go get.
No! What's the coolest DS game? Super Mario 3D Land? I like that game more than most people, I think.
No, 3DS is I'm less familiar with all the titles on the 3DS. Let's see.
Link Between
Zelda.
Worlds is let's care about that more than anything. The Link Between Worlds, that game is amazing. Come on.
Yeah, Zelda. Also, Metroid on that. Metroid 2 remake is really cool.
Didn't play it, so I'm just gonna stick with my pick of Link Between Worlds, Johnny. Care about the good games. We need,
but on the
let's
DS,
shift the point of the episode. The point of the episode is we need to shift the game collecting culture. Just stop caring about bullshit, because you were just talking about how like there's so many comics that come out that it's impossible to stay on top of all of them. So what do? They just forget about them all. I can't keep this shit in my brain. I'm just gonna keep caring about Batman and Superman over here and Spider-Man.
And people find their niche, right? And they get in their lane, and that's what they collect. And then maybe they branch out to a few other cool things, and that's fine. And that's the world we've been moving into, keys and all that, whether you like it or not. But I still think that's a better place than set collecting. Which, look, I mean, I love set. There's something about me who loves still owning sets and stuff, and I think having like a library around me of games is very cool, but I don't think that's reasonable or healthy.
Don't do that. If you have like over 2,000 games, which like a core contingent of like the core people that are involved in this community do, I don't think like a lot of them aren't the people complaining about prices, but if you literally have that many games, you're complaining about prices because you're buying too many games. You need to consolidate what you're buying in terms of like not buying junk. If you have 2,000 games, you have a lot of junk.
Yeah.
Even if you think like, no, you don't understand. It's lunacy. It's uncommon. It's an Atlas game. Like, you don't care about lunacy. Shut up. Oh, it's part of your set. Like, shut up. You don't care.
I care about lunacy.
Like, Panzer Dragoon is fine. Like, Panzer Dragoon is an iconic Saturn game. That's a cool game to own. Not Saga. Just like regular ass Panzer Dragoon is totally fine. Fuck lunacy.
I care more about lunacy than
Oh,
Panzer
you
Dragoon.
Just a Halloween little bitch, Johnny.
But by the way, that has a map in it. So if you're going to buy Lunacy, make sure that you get the map.
I do think when I was buying my Lunacy, someone, probably you, told me that.
Yeah. Anyways, do we have more to say on this, or did we say it all?
Nah, whatever this episode was, we said it all. I know we reiterate this stuff a lot, but oh my god, buy good games. We buy so many bad games.
Yeah, buy the good games. Learn to love your collection too. That's the other thing I wanted to say. I think a lot of people get caught up in like what they're missing and what they don't have, and they forget all the good stuff they do have. Sometimes it's good to take a breath, take a look around at all the cool stuff you have, and be like, man, I have some good stuff. What you have doesn't define you. Like, learn to love what you got going on, because you probably have a lot of good stuff around you that you could remember to appreciate. And for all my set collectors who are disregarding everything we've just said, keep going, guys. I love you guys. Show me your pictures.
You know, Johnny, if you're still a set collector after like the COVID price increases, like, you're not complaining about prices. You just know what you're in for.
I
know that they're not complaining.
There is still a way to do this. And just shout out to my guy, OGCIB, the best set collector I know, hands down. Best set collector I know. Tons of set, smart, driven, knows how to do it. Like, he like looking at PlayStation stuff. There are still ways to collect sets. The old ways are still available if you're working hard. There's still ways to find deals and to carve out how you do it. But you can't just be like single one-off on eBay paying $12 shipping or $7 shipping on every game and then complaining that games are too, like, there are ways. Anyways, it's I love set collecting still. I think I can't do it anymore, but I love seeing it. I love the people who are driven, and I hope to be drug into another set. I hope something grabs my interest so hard that I'm like, yeah, I need to go buy 2,000 games. PS4, I'm looking at you.
All right, let me talk to my people for a second, Johnny. The people who aren't collecting sets. So before you get drug into some stupid social media hype thing like Rule of Rose, the dumbest $600 game ever, go ahead and buy a book on a topic you're interested in. There's a great CRPG book. I think it's called the CRPG book. There's an incredible JRPG book. I'm sure if you just search JRPG book, it comes up. It's like one of these nice coffee table books. I've got a book on like rare Famicom and Super Famicom games. We've got a book on PC-88 games. Just literally buy a book on a topic and open it up, and you will find something that is super cool that no one ever talks about. Because if you start looking into like history or just, I don't know, this PC-88 book just has like every PC-88 game, and I'm just like going through it and like just trying to find what looks like cool and interesting and historically important. Like, you will find all this stuff and you'll be like, why does no one give a shit about this? And you'll go on eBay or Yahoo and it'll be like $40, and it'll feel so much better than buying Rule of Rose, because not only will you have something cooler than Rule of Rose, but it'll only be $40 and you'll have like this little secret in your collection. And it'll be like, no one knows how cool it is, but I do, because I'm smart and I read a book. And now I own Mugen no Shinzo 2 on the PC-88.
It's a good one.
It's the RPG that simplified the menu system, and it kind of led to Dragon Warrior in that way. It simplified stupid, complex computer RPGs, Johnny. That's a historic game.
Yeah, and Dragon Warrior / Dragon Quest, super important. If that game hadn't come out, then who knows if RPGs on consoles ever would have been successful. I mean, they would have got there eventually, but Dragon Warrior, very important for that. Go watch, I think Jeremy Parrish just did a video on it. Go watch a video about Dragon Warrior, NESWorks.
All right, Johnny, I'm done talking to my people.
Okay. Yeah, my people, set collectors, yeah, keep showing me your games. I still want to see them. But if you're not a set collector, please, don't start. Please don't do that. Listen to all the other things we just said. Don't be a hoarder, and don't do this to yourself.
Don't buy bootlegs and reproductions.
Oh, yeah.
We had the outline for this episode we wrote so long ago, probably 4 years ago. I haven't thought about repro games in so long. That used to be like a big deal, I think, to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't heard any. Maybe it's just the people I hang out with, but like no one talks about like NES repros anymore. I don't know if it's just because like everyone's so good at spotting them that like it's not a problem anymore that you might accidentally get duped by like a little Samson.
Yeah.
So-
But don't do that. These aren't magic cards. Don't buy a fake one because you can just play with it. Just don't. Just don't.
Yes.
Just go play a ROM instead. Don't do this to yourself.
Play around.
And this says the guy who also has some dumbass shit like a Zelda, Satellaview Zeldas and stuff.
Just never listen to Johnny about everything. He's just the worst. I'm always wrong. I apparently people, Johnny, enjoy me because I get really animated about my wrong opinions, and I don't know how to feel about that. But you're always wrong.
They say the same thing
so.
about me. It's fine. Wait, look. The point is, you found some enjoyment out of us, and we thank you. We thank you for spending your time with us. All right, Tyler. Do we have a collector's question?
Johnny, let me just hit you up with a Sega Saturn, just the most expensive console of all time, full of just unaffordable bullshit games. And Johnny, Galactic Attack, literally always, like since I started collecting with NES and Saturn. I was always like, why is this game $20? It's a shooter. I thought like this is like the genre. I thought it should be like $100 in like 2007. Galactic Attack is $64 right now. I'm price charting, whatever. It's probably $70. Not only is this like a game that has barely gone up in value since 2013, it's like one of the best shooters of all time. And I don't even think that's crazy. I think this is Ray Force, which is layer section. This game has like 4 different names. It's super good. And it's $65 on the Sega Saturn. What are we doing? Go buy a copy of Galactic Attack. The game rules. All right.
Yeah.
I think I hyped that up on because I played it for the first time, like, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. I'm pretty sure I hyped it up on Collector's Quest already.
So if you want to be able to ask us questions, you can do that by joining our Patreon for $4. We only have one tier now. It's $4. If you want to join us, that gets you in the Discord. It gets you all of our bonus episode. We didn't want to do this thing where we've separated people and some people get content and some people don't. So there's only this one tier. So join us there. For $4, you get on the Discord, you get all the bonus stuff, and you can too ask us questions. If you want, or just keep listening how you are. We appreciate you spending your time with us.
Hyrule Vise asks, I'm so happy you still listen to this show, Andrew. What's the most popular game that you've never really played? Any nearly universally loved title that you never got around to from, say, NES through PS1?
Yes.
Basically looking for your personal retro gaming equivalent of when someone says that they've never seen Star Wars.
Donkey Kong Country.
You've never played Donkey Kong Country?
I mean, I played it like once, but I hate it. I hate just the prime. You know how I am.
I'm trying to think. Johnny, hit me up with some stupid games I haven't played. I mean, I obviously haven't played everything, but I do spend a lot of time thinking of like the most popular games I haven't played, and I try to go play them.
Let's see.
Like I don't do the modern stuff. Like I never played Fortnite, and I know that's obviously incredibly popular, but I bet you haven't played Fortnite either, so that's not some big surprise.
No. If you ever played Guardian Legend, it's a hidden gem.
This has to be you haven't seen Star Wars, but yes, I played Guardian Legend.
Yeah.
Johnny, I'm just so cultured, I can't even think of a game that I haven't played ever.
Like Donkey Kong is my one. Like that's all the other big Nintendo titles I think I've played.
Like I'm looking at all like these top game of all time lists, and
oh yeah, that's a good.
But like I literally like 15 years ago, that's what I used to look at to be like, what here haven't I played? I bought the book 1001 Games to Play Before You Die, and I played like, a third of them. There's a lot of bullshit in that book. There's a lot of like old computer games there's not even like a good way to play anymore. Like, how am I going to play this before I die? What the fuck?
Just look at the IGN list again. Donkey Kong Country is like a really good answer for me.
Is Donkey Kong Country like an I haven't seen Star Wars level thing?
It's a top tier Nintendo title, and it's a major tentpole of Nintendo.
They didn't even make it. I mean, like Donkey Kong Country is a great game, But like I wouldn't, if I saw like, theoretical 17-year-old Redditor, I wouldn't have expected him to play Donkey Kong Country. Like he doesn't even know what a Sega Genesis is.
Donkey Kong is getting a ride in Super Mario World, okay?
What?
Oh, Pokemon. I've never played the Pokemon games.
Okay, see, there you go. Bro, that's a good answer. You never played a single Pokemon game? How?
No, never. Not one Pokemon.
You didn't even play Pokemon Go? You saw all those people having fun outside, running to the parks in real life, and you didn't play Pokemon Go?
I literally drove my wife around so she could play Pokemon Go and did not play Pokemon Go. I have been given the phone and told to throw a ball and just did it so poor. I've never really played Pokemon Go. I know that you're supposed to like do some spinning, like wind up. Yeah, I'm just not doing that.
Yeah, I don't know. Red Dead Redemption is my best example. I haven't played either of those games. I'm looking through like the top, like whatever. I've played so many open world action games. I understand Red Dead Redemption 2 is like this crazy, super detailed thing, but like it's just not my style of game. I don't know. I'm sorry, Andrew. I don't have an interesting answer for you. But Johnny's never played Pokemon. That's cool. What a jerk.
And I don't play Donkey Kong.
Atari guy asks, should I continue waiting until I have the perfect setup to display my collection, or should I slap something together and watch it evolve over time? I've got about 7 consoles and 100 games. Probably won't go past 2,000 games. That's a jump. I have all my stuff in boxes because I'm indecisive. I have a carpentry background and can build something, but I'm afraid I won't like it.
Okay. So I'm of two minds of this. One, having your shit in boxes is really unsatisfying. Completely unsatisfying. If you're a carpenter, you know how to make the stuff, you know how to fix it. Are you going to be satisfied with some Billy bookcases? They're not that expensive. You can go get a couple of Billies to display it, and because you are a carpenter, you're going to know how to cut a block to put back there as a spacer so your games are displayed nicely and evenly. The shelves are adjustable. Like put 2 or 3 of those next to each other. You can do a quick frame out around those where you just put some molding up around them in a space, and then they look super nice and a lot more high end than just your average Billies. And I think that will, 1, use your skill, and then 2, give you something to do that doesn't hurt that bad if you have to tear it out. Also, I feel like you can always repurpose a Billy. Like, fine, I'll just throw this stupid thing in the garage and then store stuff in my garage on it. Like, I don't think it's that hard to, like, if you can't do something with the Billy, someone wants it, so put it on your porch or wherever you sell stuff on, or keep it in your garage and do a Facebook post and say, $40, come and get this thing out of my life, and you're not going to be out that much money.
All right, Johnny, I'm going to bring it in, and I'm going to talk to my people again for a second. So,
yep.
Hey guys, I know you're here with me. 2 I'm thinking of in particular. You know I'm talking to you. N and B.
Tyler, you have over 10,000 games. Who are your people?
Yes, these are my people. The people who keep
Tyler.
a lot of games in boxes. So 100 games. I don't think that you're at risk of becoming us. But once you put like, you stole a bunch of boxes from, either you got them from like Lowe's or you got like the flat rate boxes from USPS, and you start like stacking them up, and like all you got like this nice little stack of 4 boxes in the corner. All of a sudden it becomes really easy just to fold together some more boxes and be like, oh, I'll get to these later. And then you never get to it later. So definitely dealing with stuff as it comes in and slapping that together and putting it on display is 100% the way to do it, to ensure you don't turn into a monster.
And like I said, part of the fun, especially at that stage when your influx is like so great, it's like looking at it and being like, oh, how can I assemble it now? How can I make this look good all together? When my collection was smaller, I used to do that. But then it became very much, you do hit a threshold where you're like, okay, it needs to be about efficient. It needs to look nice, but it also needs to be efficient, and everything it's a puzzle to solve. You got to make it work together.
I mean, the best way to solve the puzzle is have fewer games. You have too much garbage. If it can't fit on one shelf, can you imagine how good of a game collection you could fit on a Billy bookcase? Like, price, console, size be damned. Like, anything could fit on a Billy bookcase if you really pared it down. I'm looking at I've got 6 copies of Super Mario Brothers 3, Johnny. What the hell am I doing over here? That's not even all. I've got another one, not sealed. It's no sealed. I have 7 copies of Super Mario Brothers 3, Johnny.
My Super Nintendo games aren't going to fit on a Billy bookcase.
Why do you have so many? You could even
because
keep
I love it.
You could keep Aero Fighters. You could keep Hagane. You could keep the stupid double pack Exertainment cart, and that would take up like a little bit. And it'd be super high end. You keep Super Copa. You need like 4 rare SNES games, and all that middle you throw out. You keep the RPGs. You keep the platformers. No. Besides the ones no one cares about, like Lester the Unlikely. Come on, we could pare this down.
Those aren't even the good ones. That's not even what I would keep. We'd be keeping all the RPGs.
But you don't need all of them. You don't need Arcana. You don't need Lagoon.
I love Arcana.
Oh, Lagoon. You do not. Shut up.
I do. I played those as a kid. Look, we just talked about it. Those aren't games. Those are merit badges for the fucking time and effort I spent to beat those games.
All right, maybe you have played a lot of games. I'll give you 2 Billy bookcases. But that's a lot of space. I'm looking. I've got these double stacked. I have hundreds of games on this one bookcase because I've got the DVD games in back, and then I have NES games up front, and then I got the bottom is a bunch of big box stuff. The top is a bunch of weird sealed stuff, and then I got like the top of the case. I got like this whole box Sega CD and a bunch of Pokemon shit up there. This is one bookcase.
Okay.
What am I doing with more than that in my entire game collection?
Let's me and you have a fun exercise.
Okay.
We'll both go buy 2 Billy bookcases.
Oh, because we both need them, sure.
Yeah, we're going to use them. Like I just said, you're going to find a place to put them. We'll just set them up in a random place. They don't need to be like in a wall spot. We will put our collections. Maybe we just do one. Should we just do one? And then we will just build 1 Billy bookcase, and then we'll put what an ideal collection for 1 Billy bookcase would be on it.
Man, that would be a real great Instagram post or something, don't you think, Johnny? But that would also be a ton of effort for me to basically have to move a bunch of stuff around in boxes because all my best stuff is all over the place.
Well, Tyler, this is a you problem, and you just told people to not do this, so this might help you.
Oh, I'm not a single Billy bookcase guy, Johnny. I'm a hoarder. I'm a yelling hoarder. Everyone knows on this show I'm a hoarder yelling at people not to repeat my mistakes. Like, come on, you know who I am.
I mean, I know who you are. That's why when you're like, let me talk to my people, I'm like, what do you mean your people? Your people are my people. You have over 10,000 games. You are me.
Yeah, no, but yours are all on shelves. I'm talking to my box people. Like, I have a lot of stuff on shelves too. But then I have
box. I have a room called a shame room full of boxes.
All right, so you're my people too, Johnny.
Yeah, where do you think all my Game Boy games live?
Oh my god!
Don't you know?
Johnny opens up like his random box on the floor, and it's like, oh my god, what do you have in this box? Just like the highest end Game Boy shit, not on display.
I look because it's not a set. Like the only thing that is displayed are sets. So like the Game Boy game, they're not sets because I don't know how much space they're going to take up. And then like now I have to make a decision. It's like if I am ever going to do a set, like, oh, what would I take down and what would I display? So I found boxes that fit them very neatly. And so it's like, oh, if I ever move they're already packed away in nice alphabetical boxes. I have pictures. I know where everything lives. Eventually in CLZ, the box location will be there as well, so I know exactly what box to go into. It's going to be great.
Are you telling me, so all these Halloween games that you buy, they just live in a box?
They do. And because I don't know what to do with them, because none of them, one, there's a bunch that come from other sets, so it's like, I can't just pull them off their shelves.
Oh, you're going to have to get a duplicate copy.
Yeah, well, I'm not doing that either, because some of these are expensive. But they're all different sizes. What do you do with all these? Like, I have so much weird shit now. What this PC-88 game, which is gigantic. This game, which comes in a baggie. These 5, which are cassettes for the Amiga or the ZX Spectrum. Like, what, Tyler? How do I even put them together?
Yeah, I mean, the way to do it would be to display them outwardly like a museum, but then they would take up so much space.
But even then, like, how are they? Like, they don't even, like, the computer games kind of all work. The big box PC games kind of work, right? Because they're like, okay, they're all like roughly the same size. They can kind of do this. But then you're just like, oh, I have 20 ZX Spectrum games. Okay, I guess, but they don't take up that much room, and like they're impossible to display because sometimes they don't even have names on the spines, so they would have to be out. And then there's like a tiny it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare scenario. The best way for me to display them is the videos I do on Instagram each year and be like, yeah, those are sweet. And then I put them carefully in their boxes, and I'm like, these are my Halloween boxes. And sometimes I open them up and I'm like, look at all my games. I love these.
Yeah, but like there's because it's such a mishmash and like there's absolutely no set you'd ever be done with. It's just like they're resigned to boxes forever, no matter what. You're just accepting these will live here. Unless
one day I move and I'm just like, I decide like, fuck it. I don't care about Genesis and Master System and Sega CD. Those don't ever need to be displayed. Let me just make this one wall the Halloween wall, which is a thing I have thought about. But even then, I'm like, how would I get them together where they look nice? And the shelves I have there would then need to be replaced. And probably I would need to put Billy's there because computer games.
All right. Kids, display your stuff before you become a box man. Don't become a box man. It's so hard I need to hear some success stories. All right. Reach out to me if you're a box man who has reformed your ways and become a shelf man. I need some motivation here. I know my motivation. I have so many boxes that are just like Wii games and like low value big box PC games that are enormous and I just shouldn't have. Throwing that stuff out is a big big way to start.
Do the Billy challenge? Let's do the Billy challenge.
The Billy challenge?
Yeah.
Can I measure it and just give you my hypothetical collection?
No, you would just take one of your Billies, put it in the middle of your room, stack the stuff on it, and then go put it away.
I don't think no.
If you
I'd have to go through all my boxes to take all like the best random stuff out of my boxes.
If you only had one shelf, one bookcase, what's it going to be like?
If it was one shelf of a Billy, like I could do that. No. But like one entire thing, like pulling out, that's a lot of games. My point is that's a lot of games, hundreds of games.
I'm telling you, do it. Let's do it.
No, that's not how I collect. Do it. Because again, it'd be breaking up all my sets to take one photo that no one's going to fucking look at.
Yeah, and that I'm going to look at it and it would be a good mental exercise.
Is going to motivate me to sell all the junk I don't need?
Yeah, you don't go to the gym to take the picture, okay? You do it because it's good for you. I think people do it for the pictures. Never mind, I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, I do it. I would do it because I want to look good. What are you talking about, Johnny?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. But that's for you. Not for
No,
us.
It's for everyone else to be like, oh, damn, he looks good.
You look good. You look good.
Update, the Japanese yen is still at an all-time low, continuing to be an all-time low. You might have heard in the news, like, hey, it's at an all-time low. It is like getting lower. So
how much money should we?
I am not lying. That night I calculated $30 a $1,500 game. If you get it for $30, that is 98% off.
I have to go load up my wallet. I'm like, I should go put $500.
No, you should put $500 in the S&P 500. This is basically Forex trading at this point. If you are loading up your Zen Market account based on exchange rates, that's like Forex trading. No, stop it. Stop it.
No, I'm going to spend that money, so I might as well do it while it's low.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, I'm going to buy Halloween games. I might as well. Like, I just bought a bunch of Famicom games, and I want a copy of Do Re Mi Fantasy.
All right, go buy it.
Do you know about Do Re Mi Fantasy? Man, that game is fun.
It's the Milan's Secret Castle.
The game's fun. Go play it.
I won't. Playing games? What am I, a child? I'm not going to play games.
Yeah, it's a platformer. You're going to enjoy it.
Johnny, do we have anything else in this thing? What are you buying? What are you playing?
We have that whole segment. Yeah, we could do that. Unless we're doing more questions, we're done.
No, we're done. We did 2. This is a long episode because this feels we've only been going for 2 hours, man.
We did it. Okay, so you and I were both at a convention, and we didn't want to do like a complete convention rundown because they're boring. Even though we've given you some updates here, on how it was. Thought it was good. It was great to see everyone. Glad to see everyone who came out. Thank you so much. I brought home stuff from that convention, just like you did. I'm gonna open up my picture of it so I can just see exactly what I brought home with me. But Tyler, the bulk of what I spent my money on, and you may find this hard to believe, was inserts and manuals. Like I do every convention. You know, it's my favorite thing. Just like you, it's just to dig through boxes.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, I gave you all of mine this year. There was only that one guy who had like the crazy piles, though.
There was like another guy who had some okay ones, but there was one guy who had a bunch of manuals. And I just loaded up on Super Nintendo inserts, got 50 Super Nintendo inserts I got to put in. I got like probably 75 to 100 that are going to go in NES. Man, I'm really excited. Some of them I already had, but it just became like upgrades to manuals or posters I had. Felt really good. So I bought a lot of that stuff. Bought lots of dumb inserts and posters. And then I bought some Game Boy games, as I said. Milwaukee Retro Gamer hooked me up with some of those, some boxes and stuff. So thank you. Got a Turrican that's pretty sweet for the Game Boy. That's like a good one. I got the X-Files on PS2 because it's survival horror.
Which you informed me at the show, which I've like as a set that people like think about a lot of like the PS2 survival horror games. Like I would never think of X-Files 2 as being one of them. So
no, it's one I didn't really think of either. I got some other stuff like NFL Blitz for Game Boy Color, College Slam for the original game, Radar Mission. These things aren't exciting. I also got like a pretty cool Nintendo Power holder, but basically like a box that holds your magazine holders that says Super Power Club on it. I got
cool.
that thing. So
did you buy this with like the Super Nintendo stamp or the Nintendo Power stamps? You can mail them in and get it's like the corrugated plastic and it holds your Nintendo Powers.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah.
But so those corrugated things came in like a black box that held 5 of them. And I got that thing with the corrugated magazine holders. And then I bought something not at the convention. It's not here yet though, so maybe I'll leave it for the next show, but I am excited about it. Just tease it. Talk about it next time.
Everyone's going to be waiting with bated breath.
No one gives a shit. No one gives a shit what we bought. Anyways, what did I play? Ooh, I did play some games. So we played some pinball while we were there. We played some arcades. So I got to play some games. Been playing some Switch with my son, so that was cool. I played something weird that I wanted to tell you about. I'm like, oh yeah, I want to tell Tyler I played this dumb game. Now I can't remember what it was. Oh well, it's gone. Mainly I played pinball, and that was it. What about you?
Johnny, I was at the Midwest Gaming Classic, and my main thoughts were like, man, like NES and N64 are like pretty affordable, and I didn't need any of it. And the best stuff I found was all Super Nintendo. And you know what? I think we also said in our convention episode, like, the vendor badge, like whatever, you don't need the vendor badge. And like the first thing I walk up to in like that 2 hours before people get on the floor, it's like a guy, and he's got Mega Man X, Secret of Evermore, and Illusion of Gaia, like 9 out of 10 boxes with like the shrink wrap on them, and like Mega Man X, made in Japan print, one of my favorite games of all time, and it's like price charting prices for all of these, and it's not like a mistake. He has a post-it on all of them that's like complete in box, amazing box, and I'm just Johnny. So I've got those. More surprising to me, the entire show, there was another guy who had like really, really nice Super Nintendo boxes, like not shrink wrap or anything, but basically a little above price charting for just boxes with 0 problems. And I got a Donkey Kong Country, an NBA Jam Tournament Edition, and Sim City from him. So just a bunch of Super Nintendo upgrades. I told you I got a Pokemon Red upgrade. I got a Super Mario Advance 4 with the shrink wrap and the sealed e-reader card inside of it. And then, of course, Johnny, a game I've genuinely wanted a 9.4 A plus, which is a low grade Grand Theft Auto San Andreas first print for the PlayStation 2.
You did it. Woo.
Yes, that was very inexpensive. Even lower. It was like 25% lower than it even goes for on eBay. Whatever. GTA San Andreas is a cool game, and I don't care about the grade because like when it comes to a game like this, like I just look at it and like if it wasn't in the graded case, I'd be like, yeah, this is like a near mint game, whatever. So it's GTA San Andreas. Why not?
You did it. I just think it's funny we both bought PS2 games. All right. Would you play anything besides pinball?
Oh yeah, I've been playing V Rising. I don't know if like I don't play a lot of modern stuff, and I know like there's so many crafting games, and I don't play the first person ones because I want to play with my wife, and we like isometric games. And V Rising is like the one isometric survival crafting game, and like half of it is RuneScape, and you're literally just like hitting rocks and hitting trees, and I love that stuff. Just like that, turn off your brain, the worst gameplay in the world. And the other half is like super competent RPG combat with like interesting bosses, and like it's challenging and like actually good. And I don't know what to feel because it's like this little $20 indie game, and I feel like it's genuinely great. And I don't know, I feel like people should be playing V Rising. It feels like a really good game, but I guess it is pretty popular.
You forgot to mention that you came home with a pack of Mario Wonder cards.
Oh, of course, we opened a pack of Mario Wonder cards at Midwest Gaming Classic for the memes. We did not pull Elephant Mario. Nope. My foil card. So I got like, I don't know how. So like one of the cards, you turn it over and it's got a foil back or whatever. I guess that's your rare. And my foil was peeling. Like something, it got like messed up in the factory.
Ew. Really? It's peeling?
You know, at the end of the day, like, understandable. This was the free pre-order pack of cards, so it's like, whatever, ship it. Who cares? Some 6-year-old's gonna open this. So, like, you know what? I get it. But I'm mad. My foil was peeling. I'm gonna contact Walmart for a refund. Maybe I'll get the Elephant Mario. I'm not gonna contact Walmart for a refund. That's a joke.
You could, if you wanted, get a PSA 8 Bowser's Castle card for $30. Mario Wonder cards, I don't understand them. I want to know what the whole set looks like. I won't be completing that set. I just want. I want.
Let me look at Mario Wonder card complete set on eBay.
I just want to know what it looks like. I don't think anyone has a set, but
there's only 19 cards.
Is it?
We were opening these packs expecting to get something cool. There's only 19 cards, Johnny.
I did not know that. That's why I'm like, I didn't even know there's only 19 cards.
It's not like a trading card set. It was a pre-order bonus. They're just like, I don't know, let's just make some cards. Like,
well, now
they're literally
like
zero effort. It's like clip art. Look at the card design. There's like big solid colors and clip art on top of it.
Man, well, we gotta get you the elephant then, so you can complete your set.
Man, this is the worst. Because, you know, I look at those Animal Crossing sets, and this is probably just like nostalgia, but man, you have like the full set of like Animal Crossing e-reader series 1 through 4. Like, I think that stuff is so good. Actually, There's probably 20, because I bet Elephant Mario is the 20th card that is missing from all these sets on eBay. Anyway.
That number can't be right. 19. I'll look into it.
There's 5 hollows. It's Castle Bowser, Wubba Mario, Wonder Bowser Jr., Superstar, and Goomba.
Wow. Whew. Things of beauty. All right. Anyways, Tyler, we did it. That's the episode.
Cool. Buy better stuff. And games aren't that expensive. I mean, obviously.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you want to hear more, well, just come back in 2 weeks and we will probably be saying the same thing. That's it for the show. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.